So, welcome to another great podcast, and where we talk about all things well-being, life-changing, whatever you choose. Right? Well-being and personal development. That's what we're all about. And I'm joined on the line today by Sarah Brown Atty. Sarah, how are you?
I'm doing good, thanks, Steve. Yeah, lovely
Good,
to be
good.
with you.
Sarah, we'll touch on this, but you're over in France.
Yes.
Yeah. So, what part of France before we kick off and find out more about you?
Right, southwest of France, just outside the big city of Toulouse, which I'm sure you've heard of if you've never been.
Yeah.
And we've been living here for 18 years, but I've actually been living in France for 34 years.
Wow. Well, so that leads me on to this then, really, is your story. A little bit of a background. How the heck did you end up in France, I guess?
Well, okay, something that's just dropped into mind. I was parachuted here. And I'll tell you why that's really interesting. About 10, 15 years ago, I got really interested in family trees and exploring the family tree, but in real detail. And it was a beautiful, beautiful group training course that I did. And one of the words I used was, I was parachuted here. And I said to the woman, I don't know why I said that, because I got the ferry from Portsmouth to Normandy. So I'm like, and I don't like parachuting, I would never do that.
Mm.
And so I was like, I wonder why we said that. And she said, explore your family tree. And let me get this right. One of my granddad's brothers fought in the Second World War, came over for the Normandy liberation, to the Normandy landing beaches. Yeah. I'm not sure how he arrived, but maybe he was parachuted in because lots of people were parachuted in. And I think it's that, because as I'm saying this to you, I'm going all tingly, which is like
I
proof
bet, yes.
that, yeah. So there you go. So I got the ferry. I wasn't parachuted. But to cut a very long story short, I started to learn French when I was 8, which was very unusual in the 70s in England. I was part of a sort of a test group with my class. Loved the language, had no idea what they were saying. And when we were 10, our teacher brought us to Paris for the weekend. And I was just like, I felt at home.
Okay.
And so I went back after the weekend, obviously, went back home and said, I'm going to live in France when I'm grown up.
Lovely.
So it was just something that obviously reconnected with. Yeah.
Well, and your journey towards the work that you do now, Sarah, which we'll explore a little bit more in a moment. How was your life taking you on this journey then? Because we often say, and people often think when we're doing things like this, that everything in our worlds have been perfect and wonderful, and we've had no adversity and no challenges. So what's your journey been like to get to where you're doing now? Because we've all got one.
It's been hard, but it's been rewarding.
Great, go on.
Yeah, no, seriously. Obstacles, many, difficulties, many, but beautiful life lessons in there as well. So I've been living here for 34 years, so since I was a young adult. And where I am today was not at all where I thought I would be, because when I actually moved to France, I was like, okay, so what can you do? What skills do you have? And the only real skill was that I could speak French. So I'm like, okay, so I'm in France and I can speak French. Great. What am I going to do? So I remembered that when I was at university, I loved translating. And so I started up as a freelance translator, which is still something that I do offer on occasions as part of my business. So I went into that. And then very quickly, people were getting interested in who I was. And I was offered the chance to replace somebody on maternity leave as an English language trainer at the Polytechnic. Right. So I was like, not really what I was thinking, but it's just for 6 months. Yeah, I'll do that. This is back in 1992. And ended up doing that as a career for about 25 years.
Wow.
Not in that same place.
Yes, yeah.
But,
yeah.
I know. So I was like, okay. And what really led me to what I'm doing today was back in 2015. I experienced what a lot of people would call a dark night of the soul, where on paper my life was perfect, but inside I felt like I was dying.
Okay.
I felt empty, extremely sad. And basically I was like, what am I doing? My life wasn't supposed to be like this. That's how I was feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was really, really difficult for me because I'd always been in control of my life. I'd always like put one foot in front of the other. And there'd been obstacles along the way up until 2015 anyway. But, you know, I'd always sort of like just gone forward, pushed forward. And I realized that if I carried on doing that, I would really, really lose myself. So I made the difficult decision to come back to England for a couple of weeks on my own, because at the time I was like, do I stay or do I go from my life in France?
Yeah.
And so that 2 weeks really enabled me just to reconnect to myself, or to start to reconnect to myself, because the journey was long, to spend time with family and friends, and then to come back to France thinking, no, I can't. I don't want to. That's not the option. But my life needs to change. Mm-hmm. So that's when I started to really reconnect to who I am and who I already was, but I'd just forgotten along the way, and to start doing things for myself and not asking for and needing the approval of others. Because up until then, that's more or less how I'd been functioning as well, without realizing it. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I did to get out of my comfort zone was to start rock climbing.
Right, okay.
Because it wasn't something that I'd been attracted to at all, but it just popped up on my radar. And I was like, wow, that is for me a lesson of trust, implicit trust in yourself. But also, if anybody's ever done rock climbing, there's somebody that's helping you as well at the bottom, and you have to trust that person, because if you fall, your line will slip. And if they don't do what they need to do, I can't remember the technical terms, but if they don't do what they need to do, you can actually fall and kill yourself. So there was this question of trust that came into it. And that helped me to really sort of reconnect to myself. Very soon after that, I had an Akashic record reading, which opened up lots of possibilities that I'd never even envisaged. And I'm living them now, have been for years. And very soon after that, I was like, okay, so this is who I am. What can I do? Google my friend, typed in a few keywords and came up with coaching.
Right, okay.
Went down that route, trained to become a coach in 2016, very quickly added in emotional healing, energy healing. And very recently, 18, 20 months ago, I've done sound bath healing and inner child therapy training as well. So,
wow, what a journey! What a journey! and again, you know, it's again for people listening, you know, this is not something that happens overnight, is it, Sarah? You know, it's a and we'll use that horrible word. It's a process, like, really, that you and we never stop. Okay, you will never stop. You're developing yourself, will you, and growing in from just what you've described. And many people do, because they label themselves with this, that I'm not worthy, I'm too old, I'm not good at maths, and they label themselves with these things. And once you start talking about that, you know, then you're just restricting yourself in a box and not growing. And it sounds like, you know, from that moment when you came back and you stepped out of that box, so to speak, reconnected with yourself. How did that feel when you reconnected?
Really alien.
Right.
It's easy for me looking back, and this is why I love hindsight. And I use that word with my clients so often. I'm like, hindsight changes everything. Looking back, it was really alien, because I don't know if we can actually teach. Well, yes, we can teach people, because that's part of what I do. I was just going to say, I don't know if we can ever teach people or teach ourselves to do this, but we can. There are certain things we can learn. But I know that that's what I was doing at the time now. So I can say, yeah, I reconnected to myself, but there was no magic formula. So basically, I needed to step out of my own way, to let everything that I was clinging onto with all my strength to just gently fall away, to be okay with the unknown, to get help with all the fear and all the doubt that was coming up, because you can't do that on your own. I tried, believe me. Well, some people maybe can, I can't.
Yeah.
And yeah, the word process, whether or not we like that word, is really how to describe it. And I quickly on that journey, that particular part of the journey, the beginning, was aware of the caterpillar butterfly analogy, which was then incorporated into the original name of my coaching business, which was So Free. It's now transitioned into SBH Mentoring. We'll talk about that in a minute, but because that's really what it is for me anyway, the way I experienced it. It's being okay with all of the goo and all of the muck and all of it, just all of it, and realizing that it's necessary if you want to transform your life. There's no other way about it.
And because a lot of people, just as you're talking there, a lot of people through their life feel this guilt about something that's happened or whatever, and they hang on to this guilt, and again that stops them. And let's not confuse guilt with a learning experience, because they're two different things. Because we can all sometimes feel, oh, I wish I'd done that, but if you're learning from it, you can move forward, and it's not being stuck as well. So as things have moved for you now, then, and you touched on the coaching, and now you've used the word mentoring.
Yeah.
Okay, right. So have things evolved from coaching to mentoring, or do you do a little bit of both?
On my website, you will find coaching and mentoring,
right?
Because it was difficult for me to choose. The SBH mentoring was gifted to me by the universe. I don't know who it was, but when I was meditating, journaling, nearly 2 years ago, actually now, thinking of a new direction I wanted to take my business in, wanting to move forwards from the So Free, because I'd felt that I'd outgrown that. And this word, SBH mentoring, dropped in. I'm like, really? Doesn't sound very sexy. What is that supposed to mean, And so they said, well, SBH, that's your name, Sarah Brown, I'd say. And then the mentoring. I was like, yeah, okay, but still not that as sexy for me. And then they said, but it's also soul-based healing and mentoring. And exactly. And my whole body just went, ooh, I like that.
Yes.
I like that.
And it's wonderful when things come like that, when I'm just smiling, because as you're describing that, I could just imagine you sitting there with this little chubby on your shoulder going, well, what's that about then?
Yeah.
Where are we going with that? What's that about? I don't get it. Right. Dream on. Right. Yeah. And then all of a sudden it went, dong, and you went,
Yes.
And it sums up what you do.
It does. But then I was like, okay. And then the extra information, which for me is essential, because this is the foundation now of my business. The soul for me is written in capital letters, because each letter is a component.
Okay.
And this really sealed it for me. So the S is for self, O is for others, U is for universe, and L is for life.
Wow.
Exactly. But also, my message is, and I work mainly with women, men if you are open to this, but mainly women, because as my experience as a physical woman here in this lifetime, the majority of us tend to do our soul backwards.
Okay.
So if I can quickly explain.
Explain.
Yes, exactly. I'm taking myself, but I've spoken to so many beautiful women, and I have very many friends as well who've also experienced life like this. We begin with, what do I want my life to look like? So that's the L of soul, okay? That is very greatly influenced by our universe, and our universe can be our physical environment, our home. It can be our spiritual beliefs. It can be where we work. It's like our universe. It's what do we make out of it? But I also, as I am a spiritual person, I also talk about the invisible and the universe and everything else as well, okay? But universe can be what you want it to be. It's like your environment. So our life, we think, what do I want my life to be like? which is influenced by our universe, which is also influenced by the O, which is others.
Mm-hmm.
And there we go really deep, because it's all of the conditioning, expectations, the fears, the doubts, the limiting beliefs, you name it, it's all in there in the others. And then if we think about it, then we start to think about the S, ourselves. But honestly, by the time you've done your life and you've got your universe sorted out and you're looking after everybody else and what do they think and should I, shouldn't I, you've lost yourself.
Yeah.
So what I do is look at it the other way around. And
Yeah.
my work is to accompany and support women to come back to themselves. We journey all the way back through everything I've just mentioned to themselves, so that then they can reconnect to themselves, to then put the others, universe, and life back in that order as they want them to be, and not as they should be or as people expect them to be.
Expect them to be. And just as you were talking there, coming back to where you started from, that wonderful word approval came to my mind, right? Because that's through our conditioning, even from approval from a parent, from a teacher, if you do this right, here's some sweets, so I seek approval, so I do.
Yeah.
And there's a bit about, I can't remember it, about the rebellious child and adaptive child syndrome, right? So the adaptive child always adapts their behavior to seek approval. The rebellious child doesn't, but that doesn't mean to say as a rebellious child you're awkward or you're a pain in the backside. You're just not seeking that all the time, so I love the way you sort of described that. And I just want to say this as well, Sarah, because for the men out there, for crying out loud, get your act together as well, because there's nothing wrong in showing your vulnerability and things like that. Stop kidding yourself that you're a strong person. That wonderful thing. I have to keep strong for everybody. And I'm smiling because I did a hypnotherapy session with a client. It's going back a few years ago now, and he had a massive abreaction through the hypnotherapy, and we sorted all that out. But then in the end, he just said, "You see, Steve, I'm not like you." I went, "What? Eh? What do you mean?" He said, "You're very much in touch with your female side," and I went, I think I know what you mean. I think you might mean intuitive. You know what I mean? And I thought it was wonderful because he had this thing that he had to be the powerhouse. He had to be the strong person. And when he had this abreaction, he'd gone back to childhood.
Yeah.
And something had triggered this abreaction. Well, I know what it was that triggered the abreaction. And it was as though I described it as you just lifted a concrete overcoat off his shoulders.
Yes.
And there was a whole new world there for him. Okay. But he had to get in touch with himself. Okay. As always, the answers lie within, Sarah, don't they? The answers are within ourselves. I just want to touch on another thing as well, because you've mentioned the universe quite a bit, and I'm with you on this. So I believe you put it out there and things happen. And I just wanted to share one thing about the law of attraction in a minute, though. But do you find that sometimes when you're talking to people about the universe, they get a little bit confused? They think it's always got God. I'm not godly. It doesn't have to be God. The universe can be, you described, it could be anything, couldn't it? It's what you choose it to be.
This is it. But then that goes back to the conditioning, the approval, the expectations, what it should be. Honestly, where I'm at right now is that it should be just what you want it to be, and that's enough. And I honestly believe that if everybody adopted that, we would be living in a totally different world. So the universe, if you want it to be God, and if you want it to be a specific religion, and if you want it to be whatever that is for you, that's totally fine. This is the thing. But one thing that I think we need to remember as well, that we are all part of a universe. We've got the sun, the moon. I mentioned a bit about, I often mention the moon cycles in the work I do as well, because I feel it's very important for us. But there are planets out there. You just look up, if you're lucky enough, it's, cloudless sky at night, you see the stars. So those are physical things that you can actually see. So even if you're like Thomas and you're a doubter and you have to see it to believe it, just look up when it's dark, you'll see the moon when it's a full moon, you'll see the stars, and that is the universe. So if that's all that means to you right now, it does exist. So it was difficult in a way for me, because the universe, I was a bit dubious, because I have my convictions, you have yours, and everybody has their own. And I was like, oh, how are people going to receive this? So far, they've received it very, very well. But I'm not here to say, this is what it means to me, and therefore this is what it must mean to you. On the contrary. And this is also something that I help the people who come to work with me with, because it does sadden me when I hear, am I doing this right? Or, you asked me to do that, but I think I've done it wrong. And I'm like, to me, there is no right or wrong. If you feel it's right, then it's right for you. And if you feel it's wrong, then it's wrong for you. And that's it. And so it goes to show how we're all conditioned in some shape or form.
Some way, shape or form. It often happens to me when I'm out walking or cycling and I get these things come to me and I go, oh, thank you for that. Ooh, where's that one? Oh, thank you. Right. Because I've just cleared my mind of all the day-to-day stuff. I'm just enjoying the moment. And it's like, oh, have you thought about doing this? Oh, no, thank you. Yes. Have you thought about, oh, no, thank you. I just want to touch on, because people, I'll probably shared this story a long time ago. So about the law of attraction. Okay, put it out there, and I was talking to a guy. I'd called for a coffee. He was in a coffee shop in York, and he was having a coffee. I said, "Oh, hey pal, how are you?" He went, "I'm all right." Well, I'm not all right actually. He'd been made redundant. He said, "But you know what it's like, Steve. You just put it out there, and it happens." I said, "Are you talking about the law of attraction?" He went, "Yes, you know all about that." I went, "Listen," I said, the last 6 letters of the law of attraction spell action. So yes, things will smash you about the face, right? And they'll come to you, but you have to do something with it. Okay. When it comes, okay, it's telling you, it's giving you a message. Okay. It won't happen if you're just sat there thinking it'll all happen for me. And you're sat there at the time watching Jeremy Kyle on daytime TV, right? The universe, as I call it, will slap you around the head and going, here's my messages, right? I'm here to help. But if you don't do anything with them, it'll stop slapping you, because you're not really putting it out there in the right way. Just my thought around that.
I'm smiling because I said practically these exact words this morning on a client call.
Oh, did you?
Yes, just about how we can get so caught up in our thoughts, beliefs, to-do lists, all the rest of it, that we don't actually take the action that we would need to take to implement all of these beautiful downloads, messages, whatever you want to call them. So yes, I just love the synchronicity again. And that, for me, is another example of the universe doing its work, quite simply. So if you're listening and you're a bit dubious, and that's fine, about the universe, just maybe lean in a little bit to what you might call coincidence or synchronicity, or if you have a thought and somebody speaks it, or if you're thinking about something and then you read a book and the words in there, just all of these little signs, just get curious about it, because like you said earlier, have fun with it as well. It's not, and it took me a long time to realize this, that life isn't meant to be serious, not all the time anyway. So just have fun with it, have fun exploring what this means to you. And I can't insist on that enough, because at the end of the day, we are all individuals. Yes, we're part of a collective, but we are individuals as well. And so when we are really true to ourselves, that's when we can also help others be true to themselves. And that's what creates a beautiful, diverse world.
Cool. And Sarah, what you took there, you can, you can read a book and then you can pick that book up months later and different things jump out at you because you're in a different place. Okay.
Yeah.
And then they may be just there again saying, hey, here it is. Are you reading this? Are you taking this in? And Anne and
Mm.
I don't know, you've probably watched The Shift by Wayne Dyer. Probably, I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Anne and I, we must have watched that film, God knows how many times. And every time we watch it, we go, oh, right, can't remember that bit. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
yeah, another bit comes in. So, wow. Sarah, if people want to find out more about you, then how can they get in touch with you? And yeah, let us know.
The one-stop shop now, which has been a labour of love, is my beautiful website. And I say it's beautiful because I had help from two people, one for the design, one for the copywriting. And I'm really in love with it now because it really reflects who I am and my journey. So I'm very grateful to those two lovely ladies. So it's sbhmentoring, all one word, .com. And you will find everything there. I have lots of resources for you that you can access either directly on the website or upload. And there are links to my YouTube channel, to my various social media, all the ways that you can work with me. And yeah, just get in touch.